Welcome everyone to the Country Rose Farm YouTube channel. I am here on the side of the road of our entrance to the farm, getting everything tidied up before spring arrives. Now, if you remember from previous videos, there are quite a bit of flowers up on the ridge of this little hill that I really enjoy having come up. There's all kinds of flower bulbs planted up there, such as the daffodils and some tulips and irises. And part of taking care of those is to remove the leaves. And they've been there all winter, and that serves a function because it not only kind of protects them from the harsh parts of winter, but also you get a lot of animals that go, well, little bugs and things that live underneath there and kind of help with the soil chemistry. But it doesn't look very sightly, so I tidied that up. It's always been a question what to do with the leaves once they get into the ditch. It's always so windy here at this time of year that just burning them could become a hazard. So, and it's a lot of leaves to have to haul up the ridge. I did that one year, and there's a reason it's only been 1 year that I do that. But here, let me walk you through. This is the first week of February, so this is where we were a couple of months ago. Everything's just now starting to come up through the soil. So it's daffodils are going to be the first thing to come up. And I mean this whole ridge line. See? I've also got paper whites and some poetica. The tulips are nice, and there's going to be my first flowers. I'm so excited. But now everyone came here for the garden update. Well, the flowers are part of the garden, though they're not in the kitchen garden section. Now, I've been debating that maybe this year I would include some flowers into the garden design. But I'm also trying to rein back some of that ambition, because I know it's going to get me later if I put too much on me. Remember, guys, this year I'm trying to take a step back because last year was just too much. I took on too much, so this year I am scaling back. And there is still 2,500 square feet that I'm taking care of. But as you're going to see later on in the video, the way I have sectioned up the garden so that I made the alleys a little bit bigger so that I can get equipment in there like a wheelbarrow or walk between rows even though there's full crop on it. That was a mistake from last year. My alleys were not thick and they were not wide enough. So that is the this is where we're starting with the ridge of flowers. More to come on that. And this here is Limpus. I kind of wanted to give a shot as to what's going on with Limpus and why she's not with the other chickens in the coop. She is one tough bird. She's 2 years old, and here in a second she gives you a little demonstration of her mobility. That's about it. She can fly if she had to, but most of the time this is what she's doing. She'll get to her spot.
What is it, Limpus?
And settle up. Want to come help me in the garden? Want me to carry you? Let me give you a carry. She says, no, I can take care of myself. Good girl. Can I just pet you? Yeah. So the second week of February, there was a break in the weather, and that's just how it is here in Tennessee. We'll have these early little peekaboo springs, some previews, and I take these opportunities to do some prep work in the garden. And at the last video, you saw where I was working on the strawberry patch, trying to put in some symmetry, some garden design, and get all hoity-toity. And this is where I dug a really nice trench, and I prepared the bed and transplanted a bunch of the strawberries to finish up the rows that were on the outside. Remember, there's 5 rows, and the middle row is interrupted by the apple tree, so it's only like half a row, but it's, well, you'll see. And the wind is not my friend because it keeps blowing my reference string, but luckily I've got that trench and just using it for reference. But I just put these strawberries in here and nestle them. And the thing is that a lot of these strawberries were the runners of last year's starter plants. So their root ball is not crazy developed. They're pretty easy to pluck out of the soil. But as I was thinning and working towards, trying to get these 5 rows looking good and crisp, I discovered that the older plants had established themselves, and I didn't want to interrupt that because of the warm springs we've been having. Their growth has just been well advanced, and I felt like if I disrupted the mature plants from last year's planting, that I may interrupt the crop that I was going to get. So I only completed the 2 outer lines for the strawberries, and I have not bothered the established growth. And you're going to see that I also have not completed all the weeding in between the strawberries. Now, what happened was other things kind of took priority. Like I try to go as far as I can with what I have, but due to time schedules, other things come up. Take, for instance, making these videos. I would love to get these things out timely, and show you, oh, this is what I did the first week of February. And that's why I was making this footage. I was like, okay, I'm going to make a garden update and get that posted. However, there were these other video opportunities that came up. So Richard was really active on getting the new horse, Holly, and he was chomping at the bit, no pun intended, that he get her in a harness and get her working with Ellie, because he has a garden further on down the hill where our original garden spot had been. And then last year we had pigs working on it because there was a lot of Johnson grass. And if anyone is not familiar with Johnson grass, they put out these large ribosome, almost like a bamboo under the ground. But it is thicker than fingers, these ribosomes, and they go way deep in the ground, like more than 6 inches. I've seen them a foot deep in the ground. Well, the pigs did a awesome job rooting out every bit of that ribosome. So if you have a Johnson grass problem, I suggest you consider putting some pasture pigs out there and let them dig that stuff up. And they loved it. So I only found 2 small patches of Johnson grass so far that the sows left behind. They didn't dig it all up, so I'm out there with a shovel, because if you let Johnson grass go on too long, it will make issues, especially if it develops the darn seed head. But those ribosomes, you got to get down in the dirt. Here I am. This is not for strawberries. What I'm actually doing here is prepping for the potatoes. All the while that I'm digging and prepping these rows, I am taking all the vegetation, the weeds, the roots, and all that away from here and giving that to the chickens that are held up in coops. Not necessarily running free range like Limpus. But you'll see here in just a second that Limpus has to always do a little bit of a quality control. There are certain weeds that they love very much. They're not really crazy about plantains, but they save that for last and do end up eating those up.
Let's check it out, Limpus.
So here I am at the end of the day. I got my potato row ready. Just gotta go get those, and I've got the last of the strawberry line done. I'm not going to mess with the strawberries till after the crop, and we're probably looking at late summer, midsummer. We'll see. But that's about where I'm leaving the weeds as well. Now, I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. This is where the strawberries have gotten to here in February, and this is going to be the next section I work on. That's going to be my cold crop garden, as you'll see, but I have to put up some defenses because I have dog traffic coming in and out to this area. She's considered it just part of the lawn, so I had to take some measures. Yeah, Juby got placed up on the doghouse. Now, she doesn't have to stay there all the time, but I noticed she was acting a little strange, and she wouldn't even look me in the eye, as you can see in this picture. I said, Juby, what is wrong? Well, Limpus decided that she was going to try out this new place she found to lay eggs, and Juby doesn't want to go in there and share. Or more likely that Limpus is being a crotchety old bird and has kicked Juby out of her own house. Naughty Limpus. So, here is the seed potatoes that I have left over from what we ate during the winter. And we just started putting those right down into the trench that I'd made. Oh, it just looks so good. Now, Limpus did eventually let Juby have her doghouse back. And she got busy. Look, it's Limpus's first egg. Yay! Now, after a quick dodge of some rough weather, the first week of March showed up and I was ready. Here you can see where I've got the cattle panels mounted up on the T-post and tied on with just some baling twine. And here is a side view, also where I've begun working on the cold crop garden. So this will be the first part that I'm putting seeds in. Now, you'll see over to the right, that is the electric fence, but I end up expanding that. But for now, I just had it around the cold crop area. Now, this is the arrangement. So I got my little knee pad and I'm squatting down on my knees, pulling the weeds, putting it in that bucket for the chickens. Yeah, I had to upgrade from that little silver bowl to the bucket because there were a lot of weeds. As you can see, while I advance, there's going to be a lot more food for the chickens. I'm also dragging that blue tarp over and collecting all the dead leaves and sticks. But doesn't it look good? Nothing better than when the soil is like freshly turned over. This is indicating that I have seeds in the ground. So there's 5 rows already taken care of here. Some of the seeds were old. I didn't think they would do very much, and I thought I'm just going to go ahead and plant them, see what they do. And if they don't end up producing anything, that's fine. I'll be ready for summer. And this is just, you can see where I'm moving the string side to side. I've got my loppers up there on my cattle panel because I would find some roots that needed to be taken care of. But other than that, this is pretty status quo as to my seed bed prepping. And this is where I'm at the end of the day. And as soon as I get done with planting something, I'll move the string over, and you can see where the tarp is floating around. And I've got that cultivator thing that I use. That is a magnificent tool. I would suggest that for anyone. Here's a close-up. I've got carrots, turnips, radishes, onions, lettuce. I tried to do some peas, but at the time of this recording, I tell you, I don't think the peas made it. And that's a shame, because I really do enjoy peas very much. Now, what you're seeing here is that after a short dry spell, there was suddenly going to be a torrential rain event. And I hate that because it doesn't seem to matter when I start my garden. After about 10 days in of putting down the seed and getting excited and my hopes up, there'd be this torrential rain. And I mean, one year it happened in May, and it washed out my cabbages way down to the creek. There is a video on that. And there was a time when it happened in April. So here we are in March, and I thought I was really getting good on the ball. And I've been watching the weather, and they say here comes this heavy, heavy rain. And I thought, I just put the seeds down. So what you're seeing, that dark stuff on these seed hills, is old, rotten hay. Yeah, we had some just lying about. And I took about 2 or 3 wheelbarrowfuls of old nasty hay, and it smelt awful, but it was wet and really advanced in its rotting. And I just put that down on top of all my seed hills, and it worked. It was wonderful. The torrential rain came in the night like a thief, and I go out there and check on all my little tender plants, and thank goodness everything survived. Nothing got washed out. My rows looked awesome. Once everything starts kind of popping up out of the ground, get really protective. My potatoes and radishes were already coming up. But wrapping up towards the end of March, there'd been heavy snow, heavy rain, lots of wind. Got some irises established up on that hillside to kind of help fill it out. But then there was a attack of chickens. All that rotted hay had dried and looked so tantalizing to my flock, who every now and then get to come out of the coop, and what do? Head straight for this rotten hay and start turning things over. And I was really upset. Even though I got this electric fence around it, they just flew right over that with a laugh. And so I decided that I needed to put in some more defenses. But, you know, whenever you're gardening or any kind of project or any type of life situation, you got to go through things like equipment failures and chicken attacks and dogs walking in there. Well, I needed to also be thinking about those strawberries. There were blooms all over the place. Yay, I hadn't killed them. And, you know, I had protected the seedlings with the hay, and I had tried to protect the garden perimeter with the fence. And now I was going to get really ingenuitive and use some power tools. And I'm going to also use this big fish net we got on hand. As you can see, it can cover my truck. And I put the stakes in the ground, and here I have the new bird netting for my strawberry patch. Ta-da! But birds are not the only thing that I have to worry about. Here towards the end of March, we had some freezes, and my potatoes were very tender and young, and I have put this cold netting over it. And the wind has been insane during certain events here in East Tennessee. If anyone's been watching the news, been causing quite a bit of havoc over here in the mountains. But I got my cold frame up, and let us hope that this early garden will be protected. Pray over it, and let's just see what the next update will bring. Bye, everyone.